Um, I welcome all of you to the current concept topic, astigmatism management at the time of cataract surgery. I'm Ashu Agarwal, and I'll take you through the course. I'll give you a brief overview of the course and the co-instructors in this. So, as we all know, cataract surgery is now a refractive surgery. With the premium IOLs coming in like multifocal, trifocal, accommodative, and toric IOLs, spectacle independence is expected by the patient and also desired by the surgeon. And target emmetropia is an important consideration with good, and the major components here, of course, are, apart from a good surgery, are good biometry to avoid post-op surprises. And of late, we've had some very good biometers coming in, and astigmatism control. Residual or astigmatism control may be considered as a procedural failure despite a good cataract surgery. So an overview of the course, the first topic would be by me, which is optimizing phaco-incisions to minimize astigmatism. The next talk would be by Dr. Sudhank Bharti, incisional techniques to reduce pre-existing astigmatism, LRIs and AK, manual and femtolaser based. Dr. Purendra Bhasin would be talking about toric IOLs, an elegant way to control astigmatism. And Dr. Saurav Chaudhary would talk about intraoperative image-guided systems for enhanced results in astigmatism control. I believe he may not be able to join us because of some personal issues. And if he doesn't, then Dr. Purendra Bhasin will be covering his talk. So starting with the first talk, optimizing phaco-incisions to minimize astigmatism. I have no financial interest in any of the devices, procedures, techniques mentioned. So let's take a historical perspective of things. The first steps. In fact, the first thing that to control astigmatism in cataract surgery was incision optimization, which was in terms of the incision axis, the axis it was placed on, the size of the incision, and the placement, that is anteriorly or posteriorly on the cornea. Next came the astigmatic keratotomy, which was a powerful but erratic tool, and then came relaxing incisions, which essentially moved posteriorly in the form of peripheral corneal relaxing incisions or limbal relaxing incisions. Opposite clear corneal incisions were a logical fallout for the cataract surgeon, which essentially comprised of two clear corneal tunnels 180 degrees apart on the steep meridian, with no additional instruments or surgical skill required. However, early post-operative care was required. Toric IOLs have been refined further and probably the most elegant and scientific way, but they have a downside that they are quite expensive, and in our country, it can be an issue for quite a segment of patients, and therefore the other methods cannot be undermined. So astigmatism control is still not an exact science. Please remember, it is still, so I would say that it's both science and an art, but it's not an exact science. And wound healing factor is the biggest bugbear which causes unpredictable results also, despite the best possible effort. So before we go on, let's look at the basic concepts in astigmatism control and the terminology used. There are certain astigmatism control parameters, like the size of incision, the distance of the incision from the center of cornea, the axis of incision, the coupling effect, and wound healing. We'll be looking at each of these in a little more detail. Also understand that astigmatism is a vector quantity with in terms of magnitude, which is measured by diameters of cylinder, and direction, which is axis in degrees. Then there's a very important concept called surgically induced astigmatism, or SI in short, which is essentially astigmatism resulting from a surgical procedure and can be used to effectively reduce pre-existing cylinder. So the first concept, size of incision. We know as the size increases, the surgically induced astigmatism increases. Now, why does it happen? Look at these schematic diagrams. This is a smaller size incision. This is a larger size incision. As the size increases, there's greater relaxation of tissue. There's greater relaxation and there's greater wound slippage. You see there's greater wound slippage, and therefore more surgically induced astigmatism. So if you want to increase there's a astigmatism in a particular axis, you want to reduce it, increase the size of the incision, and it will reduce the incision, the astigmatism. Distance from the center of the cornea. Now look at this schematic. We all know that a lot of us would go for a temporal clear corneal incision. And the reason ascribed is that lesser astigmatism is induced. Now let's look at it why. We know that the temporal limbus is further away from the center of the cornea compared to the superior limbus. Closer the incision to the center of the cornea, greater is the induced astigmatism. Distance to the temporal limbus is more than the distance to the superior limbus, and therefore temporal clear corneal incisions, which are further away from the center compared to the superior or even the oblique clear corneal incisions, they cause lesser surgically induced astigmatism. Axis of incision. Now, corneal incision surgeries, they essentially flatten the meridian they're placed on, and they aim to flatten the steeper meridian by means of a tunnel or a relaxing incision. And corneal tunnels can be made temporally or on the steeper meridian, which is called on axis, which is a shortened version for on steeper axis. What it implies is on steeper axis you make the incision, so we call it on axis phacoemulsification. A very important concept called the coupling effect. Now, modification of one radius of curvature results in an opposite and equal effect on radius of curvature 90 degrees away. So this is the steeper meridian and this is the flatter meridian. Incision on the steeper meridian, we make the incision on the steeper meridian, would flatten the steeper meridian. This, if you make it here, this steeper meridian would become relatively flatter, and the flatter meridian would have an equal and opposite effect and would become relatively steeper. So this is how also we can control the astigmatism. Now, surgically induced astigmatism, as I said, is a vector quantity and is calculated by vector analysis. There's a bit of trigonometry involved, but fortunately, we have some good calculators where we don't have to go into these details. I'll show you in the next slide. And suffice it to say that surgically induced astigmatism is a vector post-keratometry minus pre-keratometry in a vector quantity. So the various calculators are available, some of which I am given here: Haygis, Dr. Saurabh Sahni's, the Alcon Toric, and I'll use Dr. Sahni's to demonstrate an example. Let's assume the pre-op keratometry for a patient was 44 diopters at 90 degrees and 45 diopters at 180 degrees. That means it was steeper at 180 degrees by 1 diopter. And the post-op keratometry was 44.25 at 80 and 44.75 at 170. Please note the axis has changed. From the incision was a temporal incision placed on 180 degrees, but after 4 to 5 weeks, the post-op keratometry was at 170, the steeper, and 80. So the axis has changed. So had it been the same axis calculation, surgically induced astigmatism calculation would have been very easy. But what happens here? So let's look at this. I've already fed in the data in the interest of time. So here, if you see, can you see? This is pre-op keratometry and post-op keratometry. Pre-op, the axis is 44 and 90, 45 at 180, 44 post-op is 44.25 at 80 and 44.75 at 170. We get the surgically induced astigmatism, which is calculated as 0.556 at 99 degrees. So what happens if I change this value to 70 degrees? So you see that value changes from 0.7 to 104 degrees, 0.7 diopters at 104. So the value changes. So these calculators help us in knowing how we are performing, what a surgery is doing. And this is the way, sorry. I'm sorry, I think it just reverted back to the earlier one. Okay, so these are the toric calculators which can be downloaded. And coming to wound healing, as I mentioned, it is not well understood. However, some drugs like topical steroids may modify healing to some extent. So on-axis phacoemulsification is, in principle, is basically flattening of the steeper meridian. The axis of incision is placed on the steeper meridian, and if pre-op astigmatism is more than or equal to 0.5 diopters. If the pre-op astigmatism is less than 0.5 diopters, then I would suggest a temporal clear corneal incision. The placement is usually clear corneal. However, the incision can be moved anterior or posterior. Posterior would mean mid-limbal or posterior limbal to increase or decrease the induced astigmatism. Size is, we now do not want to go beyond 2.8 to 3 millimeters, sometimes 3.5 millimeters, especially if a temporal clear corneal incision is used. Because as you know, the temporal clear corneal incisions are more prone to ingress of fluid immediately post-op. Earlier, in fact, quite a few of us have done up to 5.5 millimeters and pushed in our PMMA lens and reduced pre-existing astigmatism quite considerably. But it's not recommended because it causes unstable wounds, and we have better techniques available now. However, posterior limbal and scleral limbal incisions can be relatively longer because they are more stable compared to clear corneal incisions. Opposite clear corneal incision is basically two standard phaco incisions or tunnels made 180 degrees apart along the steeper meridian. The advantage is that no additional surgical skill or instrumentation is required. Instruments used for clear corneal incision are the same as used for OCCI. And OCCI are penetrating, therefore require early postoperative care. The preoperative workup inclusion criteria are basically a patient should be properly screened for cataract surgery with astigmatism included up to 1.25 diopters. In fact, now it would be 1 to 1.25 diopters, because we have some good toric IOLs and Indian manufacturers also coming in with good results, which are cheaper. Workup is as for a routine cataract surgery. And an important thing is to note the axis of astigmatism. Here, a word of caution, because a lot of people are still doing manual keratometry. And the standard thing is, when a workup in a high volume surgery setup is being done, is you take the axis 90 and 180, but sometimes it may be an oblique axis. So take the measure the axis specifically by rotating the Joule Schiotz or Bausch and Lomb type keratometer if you're doing a manual one. And of course, auto keratorefs take a automatic reading. So an overview of the surgical procedure for on-axis phacoemulsification. The reference marks are made on the horizontal meridian in the sitting position to avoid cyclotorsion. On the table, steeper meridian are marked using an axis marker. The incisions are clear corneal, limbal, posterior limbal, depending on the pre-existing astigmatism. However, if you're doing a posterior limbal astigmatism, sometimes ballooning of conjunctiva can happen because of egress of fluid inside that, and therefore a conjunctival peritomy should be done just behind the incision to prevent that ballooning, and otherwise it can be quite inirritant. Proceed with the phacoemulsification surgery as usual. You may increase the size of incision before or after IOL implantation, whatever is comfortable. But now we do not recommend above 3.5 millimeters, especially in clear corneal incisions. Surgical procedure for OCCI. Steps are the same till IOL implantation. With viscoelastic in the AC, OCCI is made 180 degrees opposite to the main incision, and the same principles of size, placement, clear corneal or limbal, and axis of incision would apply to the OCCI too. Irrigation aspiration is done, and it is recommended to hydrate the OCCI wound because they tend to leak, because stromal hydration has not occurred unlike the main incision. In the main incision, all the phaco and irrigation aspiration, there's a lot of stromal hydration happening. But here in the OCCI, it's a clean wound done at the end of the surgery. Therefore, stromal hydration should be done. Post-operative you follow a routine post-operative phacoemulsification follow-up. And in addition, careful observation of astigmatism should be done. These are the instruments basically required: the axis marker, the reference markers. A few very short videos. This is to show the marking of, and here let me say that marking is not as critical as in toric IOLs, but still should give us a fair idea of what's happening. Here the reference marks have been made in the sitting position. With the radial marker, we're marking the astigmatism. The steeper axis is 170 degrees. The incision is being made and the tunnel will be created. Next, I want to show that about what I said about conjunctival peritomy, localized conjunctival peritomy. So this is the incision. This is a posterior limbal, or rather almost a scleral incision. And when you make it, you're cutting the conjunctiva. The egress of the fluid when you're doing a phacoemulsification or irrigation aspiration can happen here, and it cause ballooning of the conjunctiva, which can be quite an irritant. So this is what I recommend. It really has helped me in a lot of situations, and you can proceed very well. And this may be required when you're doing this may be particularly useful when you're doing a surgery where you want to induce minimum astigmatism. It is an almost astigmatically neutral cornea. Coming to the last clip of OCCI, basically the surgery has been completed. The intraocular lens is in position. This is the primary incision. You make mark 180 degrees opposite. Even a visual impression is good. You needn't do this, but this was just to show how you do it. And a simple clear corneal tunnel is made opposite the primary incision. And this also is very effective in reducing the astigmatism. So there's sufficient literature comparing on-axis and temporal incisions and also OCCIs. There are a plethora of studies, but results are often not comparable because of different evaluation and analysis techniques used. Certain facts, however, do emerge that in temporal versus superior incision, there's lesser induced astigmatism with temporal incisions. And in temporal versus on-axis phacoemulsification, astigmatism correction is more with on-axis incision in most studies, and it is statistically significant in some studies. OCCIs enhance the astigmatism correction. There is a suggested algorithm that I follow and I would recommend to you, but it's by no means carved in stone. You would each have to experiment yourself if you're interested in this and figure out how these incisions work in your hand. But what I follow is that anything less than 0.5 diopters, which essentially means 0.25 because we measure in increments of 0.25, I do a temporal incision. Anything more than or equal to 0.5 diopters, I would go for an on-axis phacoemulsification. Now, how much to do is incisions correct? For an incision of about 3 millimeters size, and when placed temporally, it corrects up to 0.25 diopters, definitely reduces the steeper axis, and sometimes up to 0.5 diopters. We can increase this correction by moving the incision anteriorly onto the clear cornea further, up to 0.5 diopters, and sometimes, very rarely though, up to 0.75 diopters. Superiorly, the effect is more, as I mentioned earlier, because the distance from the center to superior limbus is less, and it's up to 0.75 diopters, and sometimes up to 1 diopters. OCCIs can cause an additional correction of 0.5 diopters to 0.75 diopters, depending on the parameters used. So with on-axis phaco, we are not very aggressive now because it causes unstable wounds if we increase the wound size or move too anteriorly into the clear cornea. And with a risk, therefore, a risk of endophthalmitis comes in. And we have better and more specific procedures like toric IOL available, so we don't need to do this. But there was a time when we were quite aggressive on this. OCCIs are a valuable tool to enhance astigmatism correction as a simple low-cost method done in the same sitting with just one additional step. However, the similar restraint of over-aggressiveness needs to be applied. In conclusion, on-axis phacoemulsification and OCCIs are a good option to deal with mild to moderate astigmatism of up to 1.25 to 1.5 diopters. We are not very aggressive now with other good options available. Need to get familiar with SIA calculator, and exact axis measurement is very essential here. Should develop one's own nomogram. Thank you for